Whenever we talk about getting ready for a world full of AI, our minds immediately jump to the tech, right? The code, the algorithms, all that stuff. But what if our readiness has less to do with the machines and a whole lot more to do with us? Let's dive into why the biggest hurdle in the age of AI might actually be our own minds. This really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? This is the one question that seems to be behind every single conversation about AI. It's what fuels all the debate, the crazy headlines, and honestly, a lot of the confusion. So, which is it? Is this something we should be afraid of, or is it an opportunity we should be running towards?
And, the answers we get usually fall into one of two pretty extreme camps. On one side, you've got this wild, exaggerated fear. AI is coming for every single job. And on the other side, you have this magical, unrealistic optimism. Hey, don't worry, AI is just going to fix all our problems for us. The thing is, while both of these ideas get a lot of airtime, they're both missing the actual point.
See, the real challenge here, the true obstacle in navigating this new era, isn't the technology itself. Nope, it's how we see it. It all comes down to our perception.
So here's the thing. The most important piece of the puzzle isn't grasping the super technical details of machine learning. It's about understanding the psychological stuff, how we form our opinions about it in the first place. Getting this is the foundation for everything else.
And this quote just nails it. If our starting point, our perception, is flawed, then there's no way we can prepare for what's coming. Becoming AI ready really starts with seeing it clearly.
Okay, so if perception is the key, how does that even work? How do we form an opinion on something as massive and complex as AI? Well, to break that down, we're going to look at something called the lens model.
So the lens model basically says we never see AI with perfect 20/20 vision. It's more like we're looking through a lens, right? And that lens can be smudged, it can be cracked, it can be warped. We're actually piecing together our understanding from all these different clues, or cues, that we pick up from the world around us.
And just look at these cues. What's kind of wild is how normal and everyday they all are. This isn't abstract data we're talking about. It's those sensational headlines that yell about robots stealing our jobs. It's the stories our coworker tells about that new tool. It's what our friends are going through. Heck, it's even the sci-fi movies we watch where AI is either the hero or the villain. These are the little fragments that build our reality.
Okay, but here's the catch. Here's the real problem with this whole process. Our brains were kind of hardwired to pay attention to the most dramatic, the most emotional, the most memorable stuff. We give so much more weight to that scary headline or that one miracle success story than we do to the boring but often way more accurate information. All right, so our perception is built on these cues, which can be pretty shaky. Why does that matter so much? Well, because what we think directly, and I mean directly, influences what we do. And there's a perfect model that explains this connection. It's called the Perception Attitude Behavior Model, or PAB for short.
Think of it like a chain reaction, or a set of dominoes falling. It all starts with your perception. That's how you interpret all those environmental cues we just talked about. That perception then shapes your attitude. Whether you feel curious and excited, or maybe fearful and resistant. And finally, that attitude is what drives your behavior, the actual choices you make, like signing up for a course or just trying to ignore that new software at work.
So let's walk through what this looks like in the real world. Let's say your perception is totally distorted by all those fear-based cues. You start to see AI as nothing but a threat. That leads to an attitude of fear and resistance. And what's the behavior that comes from that? You avoid it. You don't learn about it, you don't build new skills, and you put yourself at risk of being left behind. But now, what about the flip side? What if you make a conscious effort to build a more accurate perception, to see AI as a powerful tool? Well, your attitude shifts. It becomes proactive, curious. And that positive attitude pushes you to engage, to learn, to adapt your skills. That initial starting point, your perception, it literally determines the entire journey you go on. All right, so we've diagnosed the problem, which is a huge first step. But now, what's the fix? How do we actually go from being sort of pushed around by our perceptions to actively shaping them and becoming truly AI ready? Look, the first step is just accepting reality. Big tech changes like this, they're gonna happen. You can't stop them. It's been true throughout all of history. But with AI, the difference is the unbelievable speed and the massive scale of the impact. It's on another level. This isn't a change we can just put on the back burner. The urgency is very, very real.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. Check this out. You've got these three very different paths. You've got the path of fear, which leads to avoidance and eventually a major skills gap. Then there's blind optimism, which can make you complacent and get you totally blindsided by disruption. But then there's the third path, realism. That's seeing both the challenges and the opportunities. And that leads to being proactive, to adapting, and to genuine readiness.
So what does being AI ready actually look like in the day-to-day? Well, it's about making a conscious choice to seek out accurate information. It means accepting that AI is here to stay. It means working on having a realistic attitude, committing yourself to always be learning, and adapting the way you work to use these new tools to your advantage. This is basically the checklist for thriving in the age of AI.
So, in the end, this whole thing really boils down to one single, powerful idea. The big takeaway here is that your perception isn't something that just happens to you. It is an active choice you get to make every single day. You decide which stories to listen to and which ideas to believe. So the final question really isn't about the technology. It's about you. What cues will you choose to focus on?